One of the most obvious but striking things about a modern education is that you go through it only once. You show up every day for a number of years, get filled up with knowledge, and then, once you're 21 or so, you stop and you begin the rest of your life. Before modern education took off, the mightiest educational systems in the world were religions. It was religions that taught us about ethics, purpose, and the meaning of life. And one of the interesting aspects of their pedagogy was that they were obsessed with repetition. For them, it was absurd to imagine ever learning anything if you went through it only once. The whole basis of religious education rested upon repetition. 5 times a day, as a Muslim, one was to rehearse the central tenets of Islam. 7 times a day, as a Christian Benedictine monk, one was to revisit the lessons of Scripture. As an Orthodox Jew, 300 days a year were marked out for commemoration and ritual repetition of ideas in the Torah, while, as a Zen priest, one would be inducted to sit cross-legged and meditate up to 12 times between daybreak and nightfall. Religions had what one might term a sieve view of the mind, that anything one pours in will quickly be lost in our perforated memories. By contrast, modern education adheres to an implicitly bucket-like theory of the mind. One's meant to pour in the contents, and bar accidents, they'll stay there pretty much across a whole lifetime. That's why we'll think nothing of earnestly declaring a book to be our favourite, and then deigning to read it only once. Far less naively, and far more generously, religions prefer to imagine that anything you tell someone in the morning will, by 2 in the afternoon, be well on the way to evaporation, and will be pretty much gone by nightfall. Repetition is the only way of ensuring that something will stick. Once you've finished reading a favourite holy text, the story of Moses, for example, you just head straight back to the beginning and start again, with the bulrushes and the baby infant. We pay a heavy price for our lack of interest in rehearsing lessons and ideas. There are all kinds of things we badly need to keep in our minds, the better parts of our nature that speak to us of being patient, of remaining gentle, of striving for forgiveness, of pausing to appreciate, of straining to understand what at first seems unbearably foreign. We've been taught these things once, of course, but it was a while ago now, possibly when we were 7. And so, naturally, they're not at the front of our minds as we career through our lives, smashing into things and people. There's equal and possibly far greater wisdom to be found in the secular as opposed to the religious sphere. But those who dispense this wisdom are far too hopeful about the functioning of our minds. They choose to tell us just once, possibly in quite a low voice, about all the things that matter. Maybe in a beautiful but very dense poem, or in a quite slow-moving novel we once read fitfully over a summer 2 decades ago. And then they expect us to keep all this in mind our whole lives long, and we're surprised that the march of human craziness goes on unabated. We shouldn't abandon our most precious insights to the lax guardians of our memories. We need to steal the idea of repetition from religions and create our own catechisms, our own midnight prayers, our own cycles of rehearsed knowledge. We need to make the most important ideas vivid in our minds on a constant basis. We should never be finished with school. We should daily be re-immersed in the great truths, that we will die, that we must understand ourselves, that we must love, that others are sad rather than mean. Many of us are done with religion. But we shouldn't ever be done with what religions knew so well about our minds, that nothing stays active in them unless we rehearse and repeat with every new dawn. We need to keep coming back, not least here.